Hello and welcome to the Nerdum. To everyone and anyone who is here to hear my thoughts on changes or improvements I would make to my main pool of characters in Overwatch. This pool includes Moira, Juno, Wu Yang, and Lifeweaver. If any of these are characters you play as well, you can share your thoughts on these changes in the comments. And if not, still do that. Starting, I'll be talking about the characters I wouldn't really change much on, just one or two things here and there, which is all but Lifeweaver. By the end of this is just going to be a Lifeweaver video. I originally had thought that the only thing I would change for Moira would be that her coalescence shouldn't continue countdown during Fade. But after testing it out in the practice range here, especially with the Phantom Step perk, I feel like it would be a little bit too much to be able to hold your coalescence during all of Fade, but I do think if you're in the last 3 seconds of Fade, coalescence countdown should maybe go down by half. Other than that, not much for Moira. She's a pretty simple character. For Juno, the only thing I would do is improve her Faster Blaster perk a bit. It's great in what it's supposed to do, damage and healing, but not if you have to reload. Then that's a whole quarter of the perk just gone. I would say give her about quarter of her ammo back when she's below half, or just increase her reload speed while she's gliding. And now for the final, it is Wu Yang. There are just a couple of changes I would make for him. First being his ult self-cast time. I feel like it's way too sluggish and just takes too long to come out. I don't know if it's a skill issue, I don't feel like it is, but I feel like I die 30 to 40% of the time when I'm trying to cast it on myself before it actually goes off, if I'm getting jumped. The other thing for Wu Yang here would be his targeting system for his healing stream. I feel like it's too often where I'm trying to get to somebody who's behind someone in front of them, like someone is between me and them, and I'm trying to get the heals to them, but it just keeps locking onto this first person. I feel like Lifeweaver's Healing Blossom targeting system should be applied to Wu Yang's stream. I don't know if that's just a me thing on that one, but that's my thought. Alright, now for the big one though, Lifeweaver. From here on out, I'm pretty much mostly going to be reading from the script because it is a lot, with a few ad-libs here and there. But I will start by saying we could not implement all of these changes, because if you do, it would just be a mega buff to all of him. It would have to be some or numbers skewed heavily during the process. Now buckle up, because this is going to be a lot. I know a lot of people have given their input on the ways they would change Lifeweaver, from straight up removing his Healing Blossom to just making him reload faster. But what I have here is a pretty substantial change to a lot of his kit that would improve it while not changing the feel and flow of his gameplay pretty much at all. And we'll start simple. Rotate his hand inward. People have been coming up with ways to improve the flow of his kit between healing and damage, but I say just get rid of the swap entirely. If his hand is rotated in, he can shoot blossoms from his palm and thorns out of his dorsum, which, I looked it up, is what you call the back of the hand. Like I said before, numbers may need to change to accommodate for him now having access to both simultaneously, but that wouldn't be tough to figure out once implemented. And now for his Healing Blossom. I'd say it's pretty much good where it's at right now, other than maybe a couple things I would change here and there, starting with the minimum heal that it gives. I would say up that by 2 per blossom. That way, when you're pumping into someone who's low, it'll have a greater effect on keeping them alive, and so that it will reach maximum charge faster.
Hello, editing me here. I listened to this part and I thought of something else that could potentially work to help with the charge rate of the blossoms. Maybe while he's shooting thorns, the charge rate is increased so that you get a full blossom a little bit faster.
And another thing that would affect the blossom would be to remove petal protection entirely, and instead replace it with something that would increase the speed of the blossoms to the target depending on the target's either health or their distance from Lifeweaver. And now for the Thorns. This is where most of my thinking and brain power went into, so if you are already buckled up, you may now want to strap in. Super Bloom is now base kit, but with that come a hefty few changes. Firstly, to the Thorns themselves, the damage would be reduced from 6 per Thorn to 5, but to keep the base damage per second around 132, Super Bloom now bursts for 11 damage every 10 Thorns stuck in an approximately 1.5 second window. I feel like this would make his damage, though weaker per Thorn, more impactful as a whole. People have also talked about a poison ability for Lifeweaver, and that's where his new major perk, Poison Bloom, comes in. Each Thorn will now deal an additional 1.5 to 2 damage over a quarter second, stacking. So if you get hit, if we're going with 2 poison damage per Thorn here, if you get hit by a full volley of 11 in 1 second, you will now be taking an additional 44 damage over about 5 to 6 seconds. Next is his pedal. I already mentioned removing pedal protection, but outside of that, people have talked about being able to control its height, and I think that's pretty great already, but I say we take it a little bit further. We have Jetpack Cat in the game now. I say make it so that when you're crouching on the pedal, your movement inputs now control the pedal, and you can fly around magic carpet style. I don't think this idea is too far-fetched now that we have flying bastions and Malgas all over the field. Grip, I think, is pretty peak where it's at already. They're making Cleanse base kit, that's just bringing it all the more so. But I think increasing its range by like 2 to 5 meters would bring it to where it needs to be. Because there are times when I feel like I should be able to grip someone who's just right there, but it's not giving me the opportunity to do so. So, just a little bit. I don't know if that would be too much. Again, all just my thoughts here. Would have to test out if ever implemented. Please bring back life weaving in some way, shape, or form, because that was an amazing perk. And finally, the tree. The tree is actually a pretty amazing ult. I used to think a lot less of it, but the more I played, the more I felt its impact and learned the tree is a stalling tool. It has the ability to stop any fight wherever you plant it. Though I would increase its range by about 3 meters as well, and the only other problems are its fragility and the lack of anything more. Not much feels worse on Lifeweaver than placing a tree only to watch it get instantly mulched by a whole hog. Now I don't know if this would be a bit too much, but I would increase its health by 400 and give it resistance to ultimate damage by 25%. And to compensate for this pretty substantial buff, and to give people a reason to still attack it, reduce its range and or heal output equal to the damage taken by some comparison. And finally, to also make it a bit of a threat along with a boon to your team, give it a knotted and rooted base that would slow the enemies as they walk through it, either permanently or with each pulse. But yeah, I think that just about covers it. Those are the changes I would make to each of my mains. Thank you for watching, and welcome to the Nerdum.